Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, cool. We're all here to help you. You know, Vijay Union, Vijay Bangladesh, we all brothers and sisters, and we help each other.
So tell us about you and your team, all the people you work beside.
So I've got a bit of experience in various different categories of shows, from club gigs to big festivals to multi-day festivals.
How did you come to be a VJ?
When they put with the hand gestures, they can create textural representation with the light.
Buckle up, guys. Welcome to Live Show Design Talk. In this episode, we're gonna take a wild ride in a conversation between two VJs separated by thousands of miles, coming together and talk insights about live performance and visual art. Maybe bitch about AI a little. First, your name is a little harder in my language, in my term.
The way I say my name is Grigori, or friend calls me Grig. Full name is Grigori but VJ-wise, you can call me VDMO or VDMO Kstati. VDMO is fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I prefer, yeah.
As a VJ and a visual enthusiast for really long, so tell us about you and your team, all the people you work beside.
My story is a bit of a soul story to begin with, because I don't think I necessarily work as a team directly, specifically for shows. Large amount of times I work on my own. In collaborative sessions, I work with other people when we work at festivals, but that's a bit different. I will touch up on that specifically.
Yeah.
My history, I wouldn't call myself enthusiast. I'm an artist. I'm a full-time artist. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've done shows across Australia for a long time. That's where I'm based, and that's where I predominantly work. However, I've worked in other countries, in parts of Europe and New Zealand. So I've got a bit of experience in various different categories of shows, from club gigs to big festivals to multi-day festivals, of all sorts. And I cover lots of different genres that I've done in the past, like techno, psychedelic music, trance, hardstyle, drum and bass. The predominant favorites of mine. So that's
nice. Tell us about the music you work for. Like you were telling about the trance psychedelic music you work for. Tell us about those.
Going like every few years, I think it evolves. The last 5 years, I'd say predominantly I've been working with techno. So my general style is gravitates towards psychedelic techno and techno predominantly. So that's what I love the most. I find myself motivated by it. Melodic techno as well is really good. Yet I dive into other genres every now and then. Psy has been my career for a large part of a middle part of my career. I've done a lot of psychedelic work with multitudes of festivals and events. These are based around parts of Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria predominantly.
So tell us about the Vijay Union, the VJIO thing going on.
Okay, so let me, for those that do not know what this is, let me make a quick introduction. So myself, I've been working as a community developer for various different industries for quite some time. We're talking close to 25 years at least. I've been working with electronic music scene in Australia first, building communities and engaging people that are passionate about music and arts. As I was also doing events, promotions and productions, I decided to take something into consideration for my own events, which was learning about VJing. And I initially knew absolutely nothing, and I joined communities online at that time, VJ Central and VJ forums. They were very common for a majority of people to find information on. So this was going back a while ago now. It's probably 25 years ago onwards to 15 years ago, when it was still operating quite strongly. My involvement with that was very much like a moderator first. We didn't have many people from Australia, so I felt that we always could represent Australian scene a little bit more on international level. So step by step, I kind of worked my way around playing in different events. First, I started playing for myself, for my own events, then doing shows for other promoters due to the cause of my own engagement with communities of promoters that I published events of. The community I ran called Milk Community, it was called. And I got to know a lot of promoters, and natural progression from that was to play out to many different parts of the country. As I started to travel around the country, I saw a lot of VJs that didn't know each other first, but I got to meet them slowly, and progression year after year. I got to know a pretty large community of Australian VJs, and we talked. We had communication channels between ourselves, and but I felt that the steps we were taking towards building something more were there, which I guess transitioned through a time where my own involvement as a blogger. I used to write a lot of blogs online about technology from my own website, which currently is not active, but it's been my base for a while, vmix.com. I no longer run this one, but I transitioned my energies to community development more so. So I've been trying to get information out for the VJ interested artists and enthusiasts across the board to let people know about what's happening in the world. For example, like what software there are out there, what ideas we could try out, what technology is coming up, and like what things we can solve and help each other. These were the predominant points that I kind of floated over. And then comes Facebook time. Facebook arrives onto market, and the VJ forums wave started to dive down, and I think that the big transition happened maybe 15 years ago, where a lot of people were shifting towards social media in the face of Facebook, that allowed people to connect. There's a lot of people came across the world, and I think a lot of energies that I started to put towards community development was for doing it for Facebook for quite a long time.
Okay.
So this was, I guess, what led towards foundations of Vijay Union in Australia. Okay, so this was the initial group that was kicked off that was helping people in Australia to deal with issues that were coming up. And my initial energy towards the project was to simply keep information going, keep it super active, super fun. A motto that I set was called "Through Love and Creativity for Us All," and that's something that is translated to multitudes of languages now for everyone in the community now. So it's really important for us. And I guess from my experience in the events industry and other artists as well, we thought that at certain times you get we had the situations where certain events, they weren't super nice to VJs, and we just wanted to make sure we can, come to agreement that such events, such happenings should never happen. And so that's where union comes in. We're just working together as one, trying to learn from our mistakes and make sure that we don't do the same thing again. That's part of the evolution.
The best part of a VJ would be, as you were saying, like learn from our mistakes. Even if we are learning and doing mistakes, nobody gets hurt, nobody dies. If we turn the wrong knob somewhere, no fire is burning somewhere. So it's harmless. So we can learn from our mistakes and we can do mistakes, right?
Yeah, well, everyone should make a mistake at least once, as far as I'm concerned. Do not make it again after the second time. That's
for sure.
Then it's fine.
Yeah.
So, and then what happened further on? So I guess the progress of a community as we started to grow evolved into multitudes of other channels. So I had people coming from Europe, a lot of them, to our channel. A lot of them were my friends already, because I've known a lot of people from international community. And so I actually had this little strategy which I thought would be interesting. So anyone who comes to VJing in Australia, if they're not from Australia directly or New Zealand, they would have to be either coming to Australia to do a show, or they have done a show. They're either a software developer that could provide support for people locally, or they would choose to become an ambassador to VJ in Australia in their own country. And so this is like a program of sorts started happening for about a year. For about a year, we started to see a lot of people coming in. And what that allowed me to achieve is to have a lot of people that I would be able to build a trust and build a good relationship with people across the world. You know, so shortly after we had a transformation to another additional channel, which we launched called Vijay Union Europe, because a lot of people from European continent were part of our network, and then it basically started to spread everywhere. United States, Canada, Russia, like all over the world, South America, you know, everywhere you want. So and then grown, and then that network started to integrate with one another. Those people started to see what's happening. I've learned that we need to diversify certain aspects. So we launched Vijay Union Loops, which is one of the probably greatest channels for sharing your content. Then Vijay Union Hardware was born, Vijay Union Software, Vijay Union Global as well. So international community could all, at the end of the day, come together. So this has kind of been boiling for a while. You know, we are learning a lot from internet and from things that are happening around the world. And I feel that for the last few years in particular, we were looking at how we can innovate and what problems we're having with putting our eggs in Facebook basket. So we now have a community called vjun.io, which is our own system for publicational news. So anyone who joins it, they have ability to publish the news, self-promote themselves. You know, we have it's a free to post, though we have a listing section, which down the line people can use as well to boost their own posts, etc. And we will innovate and will improve as we go forward and as our community transitions. So at the moment, we do not have the complete transformation from our big base from Facebook, which is close to, let's say, 25,000 members. We only maybe 1/25 of that on our .io site. So this is still a bit of work to do, but we're looking to publish continuously and innovate and share ideas and experiences and inspire people. You know, that's probably the most important factor here. Inspiration and support to one another, no matter where you are. You know, that's the big family we are, and we're growing and working together. That's basically what I feel the project is about. I do trust this answers the question for you.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I was supposed to ask like 2 or 3 questions, but you have said it. Yeah, absolutely. In a very nice
slowly.
way.
Bridging slowly, and then I'll be able to.
No, it's like a VJ would do. Like you would start, then the whole story is there. Anyways, either ways, we have tried to do this show like talking about these things because no Al Jazeera, BBC, CNN would interview us, and so we have to talk to each other, and that's the best way to talk, I would say, right?
Yes, of course.
So while we were designing, our team is here full of creative people here. Everyone is VJs and artist designers. So when we try to design this show where we're gonna talk to people from around the world, like across anywhere, like you just said, the fire started from Australia, then it spread somewhere, and then it's all Vijay Union Global. And I started VJing from the Vijay Union Global thing. So while you were telling the story, I was thinking of the forum days. You know, all the questions were there and all the answers were there. You just walk in. If you have a common question, you don't talk. If you have a very niche question, then you post. Then some senior dude pops in and posts something very important thing, and that stays documented. On the other hand, in social media, it just flies away.
It flies away. We lose a lot of information, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's another subject that I want to cover up as we develop as a community and we learn more about who we are and how we preserve the knowledge. I feel this is a big factor. You know, sites like there's been a lot of sites that just disappeared in the last 10-15 years as well. VJ forums, the forum itself disappeared. There's a lot of data just gone wire. You know, there's been years of amazing stuff. I do think you can look at it through Wayback Machine, perhaps, to some degree, but I don't know if full information will be there. So, like on the side of the things, I also pay attention to a lot of web development subjects because I have an interest in it. And in next evolution of the project, we definitely will be putting efforts to do logging of history a lot more, because I think it's super important. So technology such as IPFS and like hyper protocols might come in. I think decentralization of content was also important. When centralization happens, a lot of content does get lost, you know. And statistically, the websites live 100 days. So this is a big factor to consider. So something we'll talk more about in the future, but this is something I want to mention as well. The future will bring more, not necessarily VJ related subjects, but how we preserve our history subjects that are, I think, are just as crucially important.
There's no profession called VJ when you're doing your thing when you're growing up. How did you come to be a VJ?
We already know for a fact that we're not creating things from scratch. You see, how about what if I mentioned to you there's a psychedelic preservation society that has been operating since 60s, that have been doing visuals for a long time. These people have been doing this, you know, in San Francisco. You know, you study this history and you'll learn that it's a very active art, and it's, you know, what launched the whole psychedelic movement in the United States and across the world. You know, this was 20, like almost 30 years before I was born, you know, so, and that's not even then. We go back to history of 100 years ago, shadow puppets, you know, people living in caves, you know, when they put with the hand gestures, they can create textural representation with the light. Lights cast a shadow, you're creating a visual. So we're not inventing anything. We're standing on shoulders of giants. Okay, so let's. I think we need to acknowledge that, and I would like to thank them for this efforts, because all we're doing is innovating based on, you know, technological aspects of software and innovative technologies of how we can collaborate together. The foundations to how art has been like this, been there for a very long time, you know, and it goes back to literally cave people. I do believe if they had a fire and they could cast a shadow, this is your first VJs, if you want to call them like that. You know, this is, you know, basic as it comes, but it's real. You know, so how did I happen? Well, that's another question. How did I happen?
How did you happen?
How did I happen? Well, I was talking about from points of art, creativity. I guess for me it would be. I always liked to draw since I was a kid. You know, if those kids at school that always have like one part of is maths and the other part is sketches of characters and things. Predominantly, most of my books were sketches. You know, I'd be like drawing at the back of the class always, trying to create ideas. As far as technology and computers in my life, I was very lucky to explore and see computers very early on. We're talking like super early days. Even early mid-80s, I was already had access to computers because from my family, and some of the things that I could see that others couldn't see because of my, you know, parents' work, etc. So I've always been exposed to technology earlier on, you know, and just natural, like being like drawn to learning and things like that was always part of me, you know. So. And combining arts and technology has been a big part of what I do. So, you know, step by step, I guess everything brought me to where I am now, because without those experiences, I wouldn't be here. If we're looking at specifics of what I've done, I guess for me, what fascinates me is my art and my work is not necessarily what I can put on the screen, but also what I can help others to give them inspiration or offer them tools that create something bigger as well. You know, this is also fascinates me a great deal. I love doing that. I love promoting arts, and I love promoting tools that inspire people and inspire new levels of creativity. You know, we evolve in the world of visual arts through, you know, displaying our work on large screens, etc. And yet, the future of visual arts can be completely different, because I believe that technologies we have today can take our work much further if we refocus some of the tools that we're working with. For example, the technology we use today is through a browser. We can connect through cameras and through different kinds of software. But what about if we can create content in the browser? And what if we can deliver the content through a browser? These are subjects that play on my mind a lot at the moment, and I'm working to educate and build communities, enhancing what we've built on top of that.
You were talking about this browser-based designing environment where payment is also there, like billing, dealing, transaction, then making it happen, post-production, archiving, a lot of thing on browser-based. Would you just elaborate that idea a little bit more? How would a user access those?
Okay, so I'm going to mention a couple of projects that got my mind in the last few years. So let me summarize them. So there's a few projects, of course, not just one, but the ones that come to my mind are three, I'll mention. First one that has been around for some time, it's called cables.gl. This is a very, very interesting project. I think it's one of my go-to projects that I've focused on studying for a while. So the idea of it is that you've got node-based environment, similar to Touch Designer of sort, or Maxim SP, and you use nodes to connect and build systems. Okay, and those systems, they live in a browser ultimately. When you finish with the project, you can save it, you can share it on your user repository, or you can download the code and share it on your own website. Okay. The projects that you can build can encompass things like audio responsiveness. It can have 3D objects. It can have a textural stuff. It can have interactivity that you can assign with MIDI controllers, open sound control. Basically, the whole spectrum of possibilities. So like anything you can put your mind to, I think you can achieve. So it's a really exceptional software, and I wish more people get into it and study it. So this is one. There's another set of tools that have been really, I think, triggered a lot of ideas in my mind. One of them is called Theater.js, Theater.js rather. Theater.js is it's a concept which ultimately is a 3D space into which you can come in and you can bring objects, you can add timelines, you can assign cameras, you can assign effects like you have with tools in like After Effects or whatever, but it all lives in a browser. And at the end of the day, you can deliver everything in a browser as well. In recent tweets from Theater.js people, they brought a feature that they're looking to implement shortly, and it integrates artificial intelligence, something we'll talk shortly about. But it's a toolkit that in the field of text field, you can type, you say, look, I want to have a bunch of trees, place them in this area, and put a house in the middle of the trees, and put like a doggy next to it in a car. And then once you see all of that, I would like to see a camera point of view that will, point at the dog, and then I have a controllers of this of the camera machinery, and I can manipulate it in time, and I can distribute this
like
as a
all
final
in real
project.
time, right?
All in real time. Okay, so it redefines a lot of classical VJ approaches completely, because in classical approaches you do a lot of hard work. You first of all you got to see, okay, so how do I do these things? What do I do? You got to find the content that you want to play. Then you find the software that you need to find. Then you got to create the loops that take time and rendering and sometimes expensive computing power and software. And then you have to have a software that you play on. You need to optimize everything in the right codecs. You need to find a gig. All these things combined. Here you've got, I guess, different platform altogether. You're working on a point where you can potentially play it at the show, or you can use it as a distribution through the web. So this is what fascinates me. Okay, so this is a second project, and the third project is called Polygon.js. So I believe it's a for those that do not know this project, think of it as Houdini plus if Houdini and Touch Designer had a baby, but they released it into a browser.
Okay.
That is what we're talking about. Okay, so the project is amazing. I really fascinates me to know and what it can do. It's literally is Houdini in Touch Designer in the browser. Even UI has a resemblance of Houdini. If those who know it will find it very soon. The project is it can be used for free for some parts if you export lots of nodes as a export. Then there's a limit on how many you can do, but still you can achieve a lot, and I think it's quite affordable. One-time payment of $99 for life is all you do.
Okay.
And it's just incredible. So these are the projects that I'm paying attention to quite a lot, and there's a lot more. Okay, I would like to write some post notes after the show to give.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have some.
We'll talk more about those in vjun.io post. I think that would make sense.
What's your reaction to recent development of AI?
There's a few things. Okay, first of all, AI is not new. It's been around with us for a long time. Okay, so even going back to early 80s, you already had AI technology researchers that my family been around. Okay, so I'm aware of the subject going back long time. It's not new. Innovations that were made then, they only just fruit now. The only difference now is that, and my opinion is that AI is probably what we call artificial intelligence. It's actually should be called machine learning, because ultimately we still probably not necessarily at intelligence level. We at the level of machine learning that can execute certain systems and
can process very big amount of data.
It can. So you've got you give it knowledge. It obtains knowledge, obtains information and neural networking between itself, and then once you give it a keyword, it can reconstruct it and present it in a really efficient and fast way. Okay, so most of which is a very expensive exercise in the first place. First of all, you got to teach it. The learning process takes a long time, and this is where innovation of last 2-3 years have happened. Those who've been following the subject for a while, they know that to create your sets of machine learning, you need a lot of processes, and you need like a lot of data, and sometimes you can teach it with your own material. But what we've been seeing is, well, I guess let's break it down. So what has happened first for general public, that kind of when it came to fruition of general public view, a lot of public started to see a lot of tools coming on the scene which allow them to type some text and generate an image. Okay, people lost their minds, because no longer they have to spend hours and hours and hours to create an image, but they do it within seconds, but it begs the question: how did this machine learning system got the knowledge to reference such images? Where did this come from? Did they respect the copyright use? No, they didn't. They didn't give a shit. Sorry, they didn't. Yeah. And same happens now with code. GitHub was bought out by Microsoft, and then they created GitHub Copilot. Now we have programmers looking at the, potentially that, it changes the whole dynamic of what programming is now. Yes, so the generations of new programmers that are coming on board, they will have much more advanced tooling kits that they can incorporate to their workflow, and they can start typing, ideas that they have, and the heavy bulk of work can be done by machine. You see, so it's not necessarily intelligence; it's just a large machine learning sets that are playing the game. That's how I see it. At the end of the day, you'll get a version of something. You'll never get a real thing. It's artificially designed systems that can be exceptional. They can fake reality in some ways. There's a lot of potential use to simplify your workflow. You can, if you adjust your tools to work to your needs, then there's a benefits, and I can see that. But there's a lot of issues that still need to be addressed, and we need to discuss them. GPT-5, I don't think it will come out for years, if it will, because I don't think it's not going to be 6 months. It's going to be a long time before they will even allow GPT-4 to really flourish. Then there's going to be a lot of cases on this and talks on this. So the community at large from so many aspects of technology and arts and music and coding, and we're all boiling point at the moment, because it affects so much. There's pretty much millions and let's say billions of jobs now at risk, because it changes the way things can be done. So I guess I have a particular concept name which I use. I call, we need to become whale riders to become current in this world, because whale being machine learning or AI, and we have to ride the whale through the oceans to kind of keep up with the movements of what's happening. If you're not on the whale, you're just floating in the water. That's how I see the situation.
I think some extent of AI is inevitable. It's about to happen. It's gonna happen either way. So we have to take care of some part of AI either way, and we have to get ready for that. Why would someone take VJing as a profession or passion? Maybe both.
Take this journey as a visual master and take the next step in evolutional step. You will learn a lot. You will learn that there's a big world of possibilities and creativity, and you'll find that through every step of your creation is a form of expression. There's a community of us across the world. We're all here to help you. Vijay Union, Vijay Bangladesh, we're all brothers and sisters, and we help each other. In the world of visuals, we have so many possibles to apply our work into everything from things in your home to events in your neighborhood to shows across the world or festivals that go for many days. The choice is yours. There's a plentiful amount of software and hardware and technologies and skills you can learn and obtain. Yet I feel it's one of the most exciting one of the most exciting industries to be in for anyone. It's not easy. I will say this, there's no gold at the end of the tunnel. It's all about a journey. You're not looking to become the richest person in the world by doing so, but you will be enjoying your life to the fullest by sharing what you love and doing what you enjoy. And that's why I think you should follow the path of visuals.
The idea is we're gonna take one music, not necessarily what music, some copyright-free music, and do our thing at the same time, and to establish the idea that it's okay to be different. It's okay to be creative in our own ways. So I'm gonna see what you did, and maybe it's gonna look awesome, and you can see mine.
Maybe it won't.
It won't. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, cool.